Today, we're going to fix another common writer's problem by doing less to get a better grade. Many students screw up the basic layout of their paragraphs and put the graders off right from the start. Writing at the university is 1,000 details for every big effect. Don't get bogged down, and don't be careless either. Getting a lot done during your first semester begins with not doing more than you need to do. Getting an A is often less about what you do to get the grade and more about what you skip. For even the simplest task in writing, there are a dozen options available. I'm going to show you which are the very few, you should choose, and which are the hundreds to avoid. Hi, I'm Terry Doherty, and I teach English. Mostly, my students are first-year international students, ESL students, but also a few American students. Many are like I was in the day, first-generation college students from families where going to college just isn't the norm. There are little rules of college success you need to know that aren't in the handbooks. In my first year, I spent my share of time on your side of the desk. Some of it was hard to hear. For you, I guess it still is. Let's work on that. The sooner you stop doing lots of wrong things and start doing a few right things, the better. We can't change your grading history, but we can mold the future. The sooner we get started, the sooner your average will come in line. After we've done that, I'll show you how to get help with more problems. You need to know the ground rules. Space lines, indent the first line of a paragraph, and a line left. Knowing that much will make a big difference. Not everything needs to be hard. The American university grading system has a logic that is often elusive, but it's nothing you can't master. If college in America is new to you, this series will help you to read the road signs and get back on the path to your university success. Let's start with those space monsters. You may have seen papers like this. You may have gotten back essays like this. A few simple but monstrous mistakes can ruin your day. JJ had a good essay, but he decided to save paper by not spacing between lines or indenting paragraphs. Then he decided to go a step further and make it look like a magazine article by justifying the alignments. It looked great. He immediately swerved off the path to an A and crashed into the C ditch. Small mistakes, big problems. Use correct spacing between the lines. Indent the first line of each paragraph. Use double spacing for almost anything in the body of your essay. Indent the first line 1/2 inch. Except for titles and headings, always use left align. As with fonts, there may be a place for all those other options, but 95% of the time, you should keep it simple. C's are disappointing, but they need not be fatal to your grade. Like a minor earthquake, you will likely survive them if you learn enough from the experience to avoid living on the San Andreas Fault in the future. See your C as part of an early warning system centered on you. Actually, this is a pretty good essay. JJ's organization and ideas are quite good. A little tweaking should put him back on the track. Let's look at it. What needs tweaking? his words, well, they're crunched together and hard to read because they aren't spaced the way his teacher expects to see them. The reader expects an indentation at the beginning of each paragraph to prompt him that a new line of thought has begun. Indentations aren't used in a lot of media, but in academic writing, they are the rule. So, what's a half inch? In the metric system, it works out to be 1.27 centimeters. That's about 7 to 8 spaces. Some students are displeased by the jagged look of the right side of their paper when they use left alignment. Justified alignment looks better. Yes, it does, but you'll still lose points. It's not what your instructor expects to see, and it's not what APA requires. APA is not at all forgiving about this. No justification on the right and no hyphenations to make the lines end evenly. Sorry. So, what needs to be done? Open up Word and then find Paragraph at the top of the menu. We're going to do this in a minute, but stay with me. Click on the left alignment icon. Ignore all those other cool options except one. Just click on line and paragraph spacing. This is the part of the menu where you do what actually needs to be done. Okay, we're in Word, and we need to just look around and find paragraph on the menu, right up here. And there's a number of things that you can do within the paragraph section, but most everything we need to accomplish is right here. If you click on this, you can go down and we will set it for 2. Then we're going to come back and we're going to go down to line spacing options. And we're going to keep this very simple. At the top, you see it says justified. We're going to change that to left. You almost always use left. The only time that you would use anything except left is for your titles and for your headings. So for those few things, you can center them. You never really have any occasion to use right. You never really have any occasion to use justified. So left, body text. Now we move down here to where it says indentations. That should be a 0 and a 0. And we move across to where it says special. All right, for most of our writing, we're going to select first line, and this is a first line indentation, and it's going to be set at ½ inch. If your system is in some other unit of measure, you're going to need to work out the conversion, but basically it shouldn't be too hard to figure out the conversion. The conversion to centimeters, for example, is 1.27. And if you are just kind of winging it, if you look at the spacing, you'll see that there are 6 or 7 spaces at the top that your line should be shifted over. If you're getting that result, then you've got the right setting. Now we move down to spacing, and we want to make those spaces zeros also. A lot of times the default will come up with something else, or it'll come up with auto. But I find just setting them both at zeros and forgetting them is really the way to go. And over here under line spacing, that should be double. Now, I'm going to show you one little trick here. Remember this because I don't get into it. I'm focused on correcting one group of errors, but you can keep those errors from coming back. Because if you look right down here, you can set this as default, so that unless you come back and change it later on, you're always going to have the right settings in this block. And that's a good thing. Okay, now if we look down, we'll see that things are looking quite a bit different, and they're looking the way that they should look. So all of that red stuff, that graffiti, is going to go away. All right, so these are the settings that you'll almost always use on an A paper. Double space, indent paragraph 1/2 inch, and align left. Remember, you should not try a little of everything. Just don't. What you've seen being done in newspapers and magazines is not a guide to academic writing. As always, you don't want to get off track with APA. Teachers use this or something similar as a standard for grading. APA 6 version 6 is very specific, and this is what I want you to remember. Double space in the body of your paper. Indent the first line of each paragraph so that readers know you've got a new thought for them. Align left except for titles. APA version 7 is just as clear on this, so do it. But can you ever use all those neat options? You'll use some of them for your reference section. The hanging indentation will be required there. You'll be able to use some of the number and letter listing options to organize information. Like with the fonts, you'll have very little use for fancy colors or boxing around your words. Being simple and highly predictable is just as important to organizing a paragraph as it is to fonts. No, they won't turn a stupid essay into an A, but following them will very likely prevent what should be an A from turning into a C. If you enjoyed this video about getting better grades in writing, you'll love my next video for struggling but undefeated first years. There are a dozen simple procedures that will turn C's into A's. Some are already waiting for you, and some are still under construction. If you want to get an email notification once they're ready for you, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Next,